Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to the channel. Today is a pretty exciting day because we're going to be talking about the new Apple Mac Studio. Now this was a really unexpected product from Apple's recent event, so I'm pretty excited to check it out today with you guys. So let's start off with the unboxing, and as you can see we get this really cool cube box, which is a nice nod to Steve Jobs and his Next computer for those of you that remember that. On the top they've included this fabric handle, which is a really nice touch, as well as just to make the box easier to handle, especially given how heavy this thing is. Inside of course you'll get the usual instructions and sticker set, and then underneath we have the Mac Studio itself, which I'll put to one side for the moment. And finally, if we dig a little further down, you eventually get the power cable, which is inside this little white box. One of the things Apple has been doing really well recently, which I'm a huge fan of, is switching all their cables to braided cables. It just means they're going to be so much less prone to breaking, and they don't get anywhere near as dirty as well, so overall they're just going to last much longer. You can see here that this one is in braided black or midnight, and I personally really like the look of it. So let's bring the Mac Studio back in and take a look. This thing is actually way heavier than I expected it to be, which is the same reaction I had to the new MacBooks this year actually. So it seems Apple are focusing more on performance now than weight, which I think is a really good thing, especially for a machine that isn't really intended to be carried around anyway. It's also worth noting that if you go for the M1 Ultra version, that will be almost 1 kilogram heavier due to a significantly heavier cooling system, which we'll talk about in a second. One final thing I'll say here is that the Mac Studio is only available in silver, not in space grey. So just be aware of that if you're hoping for everything in your desk setup to match. Let's talk about some of the key features of the Studio and also the type of person it's being aimed at. So I went for the base model M1 Max version with 32 gigs of memory and 512 gigabytes of storage, which cost £2,000 or $2,000. Now on the face of it, this doesn't seem very powerful, but I wanted to try the base model first because I think that's the one most people are going to be interested in, especially as the price ramps up quite quickly when you start to spec up. What you get for this in terms of inputs is 2 USB-C ports on the front, which actually change to Thunderbolt 4 ports if you upgrade to the M1 Ultra. But more importantly, you also get an SDXC card slot on the front. It echoes what Apple have done on their M1 MacBooks and should give you a strong hint as to who the Studio is targeting. And then on the back you have 4 Thunderbolt 4 ports, which will allow you to connect up to 4 displays, a 10GB Ethernet port, 2 standard USB ports, an HDMI port that will allow for a 4K TV as well as the 4 other displays you've got hooked up, and also a 3.5mm headphone jack with support for high impedance headphones, which I'm pretty surprised not to see on the front of the unit, but I guess they just figure most people will connect speakers instead, which is why it's at the back. Now the other key design feature we should just quickly cover is the cooling system on this new Mac Studio. The 2 fans in the Studio suck in cold air through the bottom of the unit, which much like the Trashcan Mac Pro cools the internal components, and then they spew this hot air out the back of the machine. The best thing about this of course is that it's just so quiet, and really you need to see it to believe it. Now in terms of performance, I'm not going to go too much into this because there'll be way more detailed reviews out there, but let's just say based on my own use, it's been lightning fast. And this is something I've been testing across numerous apps like Final Cut Pro, Lightroom, and pretty much all the Adobe Creative Suite. If you look at Apple's own benchmarks for things like Photoshop, you'll see how this just powers through creative applications. Essentially for its size, it just punches well above its weight. With all of this in mind then, the naming of this new Mac becomes pretty self-explanatory. Put simply, it's made for creatives, people that need serious power from a GPU as well as the ports and inputs that allow for a complete mini studio setup. It's quite inspired from Apple to be honest, and it shows you that once again they're being really thoughtful about what people want. They've chosen to target a very specific group of people with this Mac, and they're trying to give creatives all the tools they need in one clean and simple setup. This is kind of also going back to Apple's roots in terms of partnering with creatives. To help give a sense of the size of the Mac Studio as well, I've actually got an old Mac Mini here, which is probably what this product is replacing. Now it's worth bearing in mind this is an older Mac Mini and not one of the newer ones, but you can still see how the design decision to go taller rather than flatter is clearly a very conscious thing. The Mac Studio of course is available with the new Studio display, but for the purposes of this video I'm just going to show you what the Studio looks like with my current LG Ultrafine display, because once again, I think there'll be a lot of people out there that don't want to upgrade their monitor. I'll definitely be doing a separate review of the studio display soon, which will be on the channel, so keep an eye out for that. But in the meantime, have a look at how this Mac Studio looks on the desk and how it fits really comfortably under the ultrafine display. It doesn't take up too much room, it works really well in terms of the silver and black combination, and it's just so super quiet. It's great to have access to those ports as well when you just want to slot in a memory card really quickly. I think this looks really good with the display, so if you don't want to cough up another $2,000 for the studio display, then hopefully this gives you an idea of what an alternative setup could be. So guys, in summary, I'm a big fan of this new Mac Studio. I think it's the perfect desktop for someone looking for a compact but powerful Mac, especially for people who aren't really that interested in portability. I personally think I'm going to be sticking with my MacBook Pro because I work from multiple different places, but if I was looking for a permanent desktop computer, then this is 100% the one I would get. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, thanks again for watching, feel free to drop me any comments below as usual, and I'll see you guys again very soon for a review of the studio display.